Here in this second video, we will see how to use the data collected from the survey and forming students into teams with gruepr. When we created the survey, we were given a link at the bottom by which we could directly download our results. And if we click on that link, then we can save the results file. So let's save that. Okay, once it's saved, we can open up gruepr. And now, instead of opening Survey Maker, we'll open up gruepr. Okay, the first thing we need to do is load that survey file that we just downloaded. So I'll click on Load Survey File, and I saved it on the desktop, so there it is. Okay, it's automatically read in all of the data from our students. Resize the window here. So currently here on the right, we can see all of the survey responses that we received. Here's sorted right now by when they submitted the surveys, but we can choose to reorder however we like. If we hover over one of our students, then we get all of the information that they submitted to the survey, including gender and racial identity, and their schedule when they are free to meet. Okay, if somebody made a mistake, maybe Brian put in the wrong section, then we can click the edit button and change their information to, maybe they're actually in section 3. Okay, and if we want to remove any of these, maybe they dropped the class, or maybe somebody submitted 2 surveys, and we can click on the remove button to get rid of that survey response. Okay, all of the options about how we want to form teams, what we mean by the optimal team, is set in this box on the left. So if we're teaming all students in the sections all together without regard to which section they're in, then we can leave it. If we only want to team the students in section 1 or section 2, then we can filter using that drop-down box. Let's put them all together. Okay, next, the ideal team size. So if we look on the bottom here, we can see the name of the file that we opened. We're teaming all the sections together. That's a total of 20 students. Maybe I want a team size of 3, and so now this is telling me that since 20 isn't divisible by 3, I can choose either to have mostly teams of 3, but 1 team of 2, or mostly teams of 3, but 2 teams of 4. Maybe that's what I prefer, is 2 teams of 4. If you want completely custom sizes, then you can choose that here, and you can individually select how many teams there are and how many students are on each team, you know, maybe even very uneven teams if that's what you choose. Such as here, 2 teams of 7, a team of 2, and a team of 4. I'm going to cancel, and I want to choose 4 teams of 3 and 2 teams of 4. Next, we collected gender information, so I can choose whether I want to prevent isolated women, isolated men, or prevent single gender teams. I collected information on students' racial, ethnic, and cultural backgrounds, so I can choose if I want to prevent isolated students from underrepresented backgrounds. And if I do select that, then the first thing I'm going to need to do is select which of the responses that student gave to this question I should consider as underrepresented. So here is pulled from the student responses all the different backgrounds that the students listed, and I can choose which ones I should consider as underrepresented. Next, we have those 2 attribute questions. The first one you can see here is how much experience do you have with programming, from 1 meaning a lot down to 4 meaning none, as well as what's your major, business, chemistry, and English. So for the first attribute question, maybe I care about that one a lot, so I'm going to weight it highly. Weights are all simply relative to each other. There's no absolute meaning to the weight. So maybe that has a weight of 4. Prefer homogeneous means I want every student on the team to have roughly the same response to this question. So I will make it heterogeneous. So by unclicking this, that means I want each team to have a range of values within the team. Next, what's your major? Maybe here I want to group together students that are in the same major. So I'll leave it as homogeneous. Maybe I don't care as much about this question, so I'll leave it at a weight of 1. So I care about it quantitatively only 1/4 as much as I care about the first one. So now the business majors will generally be together. The chemistry majors will be together. The English majors will generally be together. Maybe, I really don't want the business and English majors to be grouped together. So I'm going to have an incompatible response, and I'll choose business and English, add that as an incompatible value pair. And now students that responded with business and English will never be put together. And I'll click OK. Next, this is about the schedule question. So maybe I want to make sure that each team can meet at least twice a week, and maybe up to 6 times a week would be great. Here I can choose whether 1 hour is enough for a meeting or whether it needs to be at least 2 hours. And again, I can choose a weight. I'll leave it at 1. So I really only care most about this programming experience question, with some also some amount of care to the major and the schedule. Next, if I hover over some of these students, I asked some of them, that question, is there anything additional that we should know? And this student, Dia, put in the notes down there, if you see on the bottom the notes, please team me with Edgardo. So here I can actually make that a requirement. So under required teammates, currently there are no required teammates set, but maybe I'll say Dia has to be with Edgardo. I'll add those as a set of required teammates. And now Dia and Edgardo will definitely be put together. Okay, you can team together, as many as 8 if you fill in all of these to have a set of students that you definitely want to be on the same team. Some additional actions: if you want to clear all of the things you have here, you can clear them all with one step here. If you want to save and come back to your work in setting these required teammates, then you can save what you see in this window to a CSV file or load that CSV file. And this last thing is, if you've created the teams, then you'll see one of the final things you can do within gruepr is save a spreadsheet file of teams that you have created. And if you want to recover all of those teammates here as required teammates, then you can load them in using that option there. Okay, for now this is good enough. I just want to set Edgardo and Dia to necessarily be teammates, so I'll click OK. Next, somebody else, Felicia, said, please don't team me with Case. So I can do the same thing with prevented teammates. Maybe I will say Felicia should not be with Case. I'm just honoring the wishes that these students left. Okay, and now Felicia and Case will not be on the same team no matter what. And I'll click OK. All right, if I want to come back to it, I can click prevented teammates and recover this information and adjust it further. When everything is ready to go, if I'm happy with all of these teaming options, then I can click Create Teams. If you want to watch the progress, you can click the Show Progress button and actually see how the optimization is happening. And after some time, this will automatically stop, and we can see the teams that were created. All right, so we have our 6 teams. They're listed by team score, so this team score here is sort of a compatibility score based on the options you've chosen here. A higher score indicates a team that more closely aligns with the requirements that you've had here. Gender, we said we did not want any isolated women, so you can see none of these teams have just one woman, although there are some with 1 man, because we said we didn't need to prevent isolated men. The first attribute where we wanted heterogeneity, we said that was what we cared about most, was the first attribute should be heterogeneous, and we can see all of our teams have people who responded 1 and people who responded 4, so the complete range of values for attribute 1. Attribute 2, we wanted it to be homogeneous, so we can see 3 of our teams have just a single response. In this case, all of our teammates are business majors. For team 4, all of our teammates are chemistry majors. Some of them have 2 responses, but never do we have our incompatible response, which is we never have a business major with an English major. There's nothing that has A with C. And lastly here, we have the number of available meeting hours. So we wanted at least 2 meeting hours, but up to 6. And we can see we easily got all of those requests, including this team, 22 different hours throughout the week where they can meet. Similar to how you can hover over the students when we're looking on the students tab, if we're on the teams tab, if you hover over the team, you can see all of the information, including a breakdown of schedule for when the team can meet. If you want to look at which students are in which team, we can expand. So we can see Felicia, Luano, and Sheila are on this team, along with all of their information. Okay, if you want to change the team names, there are a bunch of options there. Maybe we'll give them Greek letter team names. So there's that. Okay, if we're happy, we can print out these teams. This will send the file, the information here directly to a printer, or we can save as either text files or PDF files. Okay. If you hover, you can see a preview of what the file looks like. So there's student files. Again, you can save as text or PDF. And the student file only includes the names, email addresses, and then that table of availabilities. The instructors file includes a bunch of other information, including all the demographics and attribute response values within the team. The spreadsheet file is just simple tabulation of data, which you can use if you want to load in the future these teammates as required teammates or as prevented teammates, if you want to completely separate all of your teammates from one teaming to the next, such as if you have 2 different projects and on the second project you want all new teammates, then you can save this spreadsheet file and load it in as prevented teammates in the future. You can also use the spreadsheet file if you're doing peer review, peer assessment within a team. There's a great website called Teammates, which you can look up. It's a free platform that you can use for peer assessment. And this spreadsheet file is formatted exactly so you can load it into the Teammates website to use for peer assessment. Okay, for now, I'll save a PDF of the students file so I can deliver it to the students, and the instructors file for my own use. All right, and we can save it. We just give a single file name. I'll just call it test. And 2 files are created, one here, test instructor, and one here, test student, and now I can send those out. Okay, other things here, loading the survey file, or if you make any changes such as editing the student data or removing students, and you can save a new survey file so you can load it later. You can also load or save all of these teaming options as a file. So if you're always going to use the same set of teaming options, or you want to set the teaming options and send to a colleague so that they can use it, you can save these teaming options themselves as a file for reuse later. And then again, creating teams, saving teams, and printing teams, like I just showed. Okay, that's an overview on how to use gruepr. There are a few other more specialized options that you might find if you search through it, but that covers the main options. If you have any questions, you can always send an email to gruepr, gruepr, @gmail.com, and that'll come directly to me.